Hui, aloha, and welcome to Keeping It Pono. Hope you're well and safe. We're here today with Andrew Lai, KS class of '89. Andrew's the student leader. He does so much. He got so many titles he does, but more than anything, the kids just love him, and so we're happy to have him on today. And so, first of all, Andrew, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
We got a couple of things we want to talk to Mr. Lai about. The first one is after his service at the Marine Corps, and mahalo for your service, he worked his way back to KS. How'd you do that? Tell us about that.
Well, I went Marine Corps right out of high school, and to be honest, I only went because my friend was going, and he convinced me that they would help pay for school. And I'm from a household where we didn't have much money when I was growing up. My mother said, "Well, you're either paying for your own school or you're not going." I said, "Okay, well." And so I went to the Marines. My brother was in the Marines, and so I figured it'd be fun, and got to fire a bunch of fun weapons and jump out of good aircraft and stuff. So it was a blessing, but ultimately you could take the boy out of Hilo, but you can't take the Hilo out of the boy. And so the Marine Corps didn't sit well with me for very long. So I found my way back to eventually Oahu. Um, I I was at UH. I met my beautiful wife there at UH, and then eventually I ended up getting a substitute position here, a long-term sub position. I took over for Mr. Bertino in speech. And then when that year was up, I went down and took over Mac Reynolds' place at the middle school. And then I was there for 8 years at the middle school. And so anyways, it kind of just found me because I was not looking to be a teacher. I enjoy being in the spotlight. I enjoy being on stage. And I figured, well, that's a great, school's a great place to do that. I'm a captive audience. The kids can't run away anywhere. They got to listen to my jokes, whether they like it or not. I don't care. But so that it kind of found me. And then as I got into it, and I was also coaching paddling at the time, it was just a natural fit. And so from the Marine Corps, I kind of just rotated in. It found me, and I've been here ever since. I haven't burned the place down yet.
The other thing we wonder about is when alumni come back, we have our own experiences, and I don't know, how does that feel when you're an alumni and you're working with young Kamehameha students?
Well, and when I started teaching, I was pretty young myself. I was 20, 24, 25, 26. And so, it was a stretch because I'm still young. I still assimilate. A good thing I was with the middle school kids. So, I mean, they're a lot younger. And so it's easier for me to maintain that line of I'm still Kumu, you're still kid. But yeah, let's race each other in these rolling chairs. Hurry up, let's go. it was still it was fun, but you have to learn how to at that young age. You had to learn how to toe that line, and I make no secret of the fact that I was pretty kolohe in high school too. So I wrote the books when these kids try to get anything past me. I was like, please. So, but yeah,
You got it all down. You got it all down. You know all the tricks.
yeah.
Too funny. Hey, our students have been through some extraordinary times this last year, and our student leaders, it really doesn't matter. Everybody's been affected. And how do you think that's shaped them for the future? How are we doing, on our campus preparing them?
Um, Contrary to what you may hear in social media, everybody's going to grumble. And I think with today's day and age, with the information inundation and people have the avenues to vent themselves, you're going to hear the negatives. But you, oddly enough, don't hear are enough of the positives. And I still am a firm believer that we're doing a fabulous job up here, pre-COVID and even now. Our kids are learning. It sucks to be online. I'm not going to lie. Teaching online is the worst experience of my entire life. That's not what I signed up for. Like I said, I'm a stage performer, and it just isn't the same behind a screen. But it is what it is, and the kids are still learning. Now that we got to bring them back a little more, they're having more fun. It's a different experience, yes, but they're still thriving and succeeding at this school as they should. And can we do more? Sure, of course. Anybody can still keep doing more. There's always room for improvement. But I think by and large, we're doing right by our princess, in my opinion. And I dare not pretend mine's the only opinion that matters. Well, maybe it does, but we're doing a good job. And we're doing right by these kids, by and large, and we're going to continue to do so as we progress. And these kids have completely proved they are just resilient human beings. They're just resilient creatures, and even in this time of pandemic and where so much has been lost, not only for last year's class of 2020, but 2021 has had a horrible year.
Mhm.
But they, despite all that, they still manage to rise above it, and they grow. They're still growing. They still thriving. As much as they kind of retreating into their shells, and there's lots of stuff that are getting missed, and we do have lots of kids that are struggling and hurting. I think I really do want to believe that in the long run they're going to be better and stronger Hawaiians for it, and I think a lot of that has to do with just the community that we have here at KS. And maybe I'm looking at KS through rose-colored glasses, but still, um, I think we're doing right by them, and they are resilient regardless.
Yeah, that's good to hear. The other thing I know about you, and we're similar in that way, is um, there is the formal traditional classroom work, but a lot of the effectiveness you have is the things you do outside the classroom. Can you talk a little bit about that in this new pandemic era? What is that like? How do you engage them out offline? Is that possible?
So we've been doing a lot throughout the year. It was hard to really plan. So as part of student leadership and student activities, we do a lot of the events and stuff that typically happen in the school year. Well, we had to reinvent those.
Mm,
Of them were all online, and some were relatively successful, some were complete flops. But I
mm,
mean, because nobody likes this type of, I shouldn't say nobody, but it's hard to really do that type of activities online and it be super successful, because it's just, you miss that human interaction. And so to get my student leaders to step up to the plate and plan those type of activities was easier than I was expecting, because I think they were so eager to do something for their classmates that they just wanted to succeed. Did we succeed on every front? No. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that there are a lot of things that fell through that we just couldn't manage because it just didn't work. But now that we're back, at Christmas we did a huge Christmas lights drive through that was a massive success in my opinion, and I am so undeniably proud. Sorry, I get emotional, but
mhm.
undeniably my kids, that it was student driven, student led, student planned, student executed. All I do is stand there, point, and yell and scream. But they do all the work, and they do it without asking. They do it without hesitation, and they were able to do it in this pandemic. And then from there, we got to expand and do more things that we're now here on campus to do. Um, I think those are massive wins. And
Yeah, it's
and
gotta
whether the
feel
kids,
good. That has gotta feel great. I mean, that's part of OEB leaders, right? I mean, really allowing them to getting the adults out of the way.
yeah.
As we think about graduation now, um, what kind of advice do you give them as they start to prepare to move forward?
To not focus on where they've been. I know this is really going to sound cheesy, but to not focus on where they've been, but and not necessarily where they're going. But once they do get to the spot that they want to be at, don't ever forget the bumpy road that you had to travel.
Mhm.
Right? Don't ever forget what steps you had to take, because those steps are what help define their character and define who they are going to be, and ultimately become, and then the kind of kids that they're going to raise. And so just to continue to push through the yuck, and continue to push through the the hardships and the stuff that's thrown at you that you don't want thrown. Nobody wanted a pandemic, right? As much as I enjoyed not having to put on regular school clothes for a year, I didn't. Nobody wanted this.
Mhm.
We're here. We've done it. We've succeeded, and we're moving forward. And I think we're gonna ultimately, in the long run, be better for it. So maybe not everybody. I don't speak for everybody, because I know there are lots of people hurting right now, and I pray that they get whatever kokua and help that they need. But I think by and large, we're going to be better humans, better Hawaiians for it, because come on, the Hawaiian people are one of the strongest cultures on the planet. I mean, if we're not resilient, then I don't know who is. So,
Yeah, no, I would agree. And thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing, insights into what's happening on our campus, especially now during these challenging times. And um, Andrew, just so you know, the audience is broad. We have all of our alumni base from Kupuna all the way down to our young alums. Any last thoughts you want to share with them before we turn it off here?
just to continue loving on each other. I
Mm.
mean, the silver linings of something like this, and nobody predicted this. Actually, let me tell you a quick story. In January, of 2020, I was with my wife and my family and a bunch of our friends. We were having a little get together, and this was all before anything was coming out. And we were talking about the stock market was booming and some other things were going so smoothly. And somebody had mentioned, man, things are so good right now. I'm like, oh, they are, and almost too good. I bet you
Mm.
something big is coming on the horizon. And then, sure enough, in February, pandemic. So
Wow.
it's my fault. Blame me.
We found the source, everyone. It's
Uh,
Andrew Lai. Too funny.
But
Too
I think
funny.
the silver lining of all of this has been just that it has shown us how vulnerable we are as human beings, and as an educator working with teenagers, it's important that we remember that we're vulnerable too, and that we struggle too, and it's okay for our Hamana to see that we struggle, because that's how they know they can trust and rely on us, and
Mhm.
to make sure that they have somebody in their corner when they feel like nobody else is. And so I think that's been the silver lining of this, is to just, it's helped us put that in perspective, that we're vulnerable, but yet we still have the capacity to love and to care for each other, and that's you can't put a price tag on that. So,
Wow. That's it. Deep down and personal with Andrew Lai. And you can see why all of us Helmana love him. Andrew, thanks for being here with us. We want to thank all of our listeners. We hope you stay safe and take good care. Until next time, I'm Pono Ma'a for Andrew Lai at Keeping It Pono. Aloha.